July the 13th, 2023. Guys, you're looking at the U.S. weather map this morning, 6:56 a.m. here in central Mississippi, Central Time. And you've got quite a bit of heat building back up across the U.S. Now, I know it's been tough in Arizona, Southern California, but that's starting to expand further north. Then look into New Mexico through Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and you're starting to see that creep of the orange. And when we pull this chart up, guys, you can see the orange is heat advisories, and this darker purple here, these are excessive heat warnings. And we went through that here a couple of weeks ago. Remember, I was getting 122 to 132 degrees real feel on my weather station, which is very accurate. I actually have two that I can compare them with. Now, up in the northeast, this is Vermont, you've still got some flash flood warnings. You notice this in the green right there, flood watches. It's not a warning, it's a watch. Still going to be getting some rain up in that area. And, excuse me, that's Booger, my red and white husky, coming in to make put his 2 cents in here. He said it's going to rain here a lot today. And he's right. But guys, the problem we're going to have here in the southeast, notice Mississippi's not into the heat yet. That's because of the rain we've been getting for a couple of days, and to me it's been a blessing. It's a lot easier to keep all the dogs cool and us cool, everything else cool with that rain coming in like that. It's right now it's a light drizzle. But guys, I want to go here because this is kind of unusual for the amount of rain they're expecting us to get here. And I think we're going to see some river flooding big time, small creeks, the Pearl River that comes down through Jackson, Ross Barnett Reservoir, and then heads out to the Gulf. It's been getting rain along its length up north of Jackson in North Mississippi, but now that's going to move across this area. Let's take a look at some of the warnings. And what you're looking at, again, central Mississippi. In the red area here, we have a significant threat of flooding, 6 to 10 inches. Think of that, guys. That's kind of like what happened up north, and we've been getting rain for a few days. The ground is basically saturated, but I'm not complaining because of the cooler temperatures. But in the red area, which is Eupora, Philadelphia, over towards Yazoo City, it says 6 to 10 inches of rain with locally higher amounts as possible. Widespread flash flooding likely. Numerous roads flooded, closed, or washed out. The flooding of structures increasingly likely. Water rescues possible. Moderate river flooding likely. Then you get into the orange area, which is us. Includes Jackson, all the way over to the Mississippi River at Vicksburg, Brookhaven, Laurel, Meridian, McGee, Philadelphia, Columbus. 3 to 6 inches of rain is possible. Areas of flash flooding likely. Some roads may be flooded or closed. Some structures possibly threatened with inundation. Moderate river flooding possible. Outside of that, in the yellow ring, which comes over to Natchez, goes up through Winsboro and Greenville and Cleveland, you're looking at 1 to 3 inches of rain. Localized flash flooding possible, particularly low-lying and urban areas. Now, for you guys up in the deltas of Mississippi and Louisiana, if you're there and you're a farmer, or you don't have to be a farmer, but let us know how the crops are doing there, because we've had crop devastation across the planet this year. And you get some rain up in the Midwest, the corn's getting high, looking good. Here comes 100-mile-per-hour winds and flattens hundreds of acres of corn, possibly way more than that. I saw one video. But the situation around the world now is getting desperate as far as the crops that are being grown this year. You see the conflict with Ukraine and Russia, guys, and that's a wheat belt area, and so there's not been a lot of things they can do there. There's been some crops come out of there, and a lot of grain, but not what it's supposed to be. So I'd love to hear from you about that. We're getting to that point now to where we have to really pay attention to the food supply and what you have prepared with. Now, quickly, you can see here the heat building up over in Louisiana and up in Arkansas. But guys, here, for you folks over in Meridian and on the very western edge of Alabama, here in central Alabama, you're already under flash flood warnings, and that's because we have been getting the rain in that area heavily since yesterday. It swept through here a couple of times, but it's really been slowing down in that area and building up. So that's why you got the flash flood warnings there, flash flood watches in this area, and then flood warnings in the light green. You can see that even over in Louisiana. I think this would be the Big Black River right there in that area, and then the Pearl River comes along this area. So in the central part, like we were talking about, you get 6 to 10 inches of rain. That Pearl River is going to get into the Ross Barnett Reservoir there, the big dam, and then they're going to have to release that, and there's going to be some high flooding water coming down through the Pearl River into the Gulf of Mexico. So pay attention to that. And looking at the radar, you can see what I'm talking about here in the Meridian area of western Alabama. You have these warnings pop up because this rain has kind of been setting in this area or propagating in this area since yesterday afternoon. And you can see some light showers here going down I-20 towards that direction, and down in our county we're getting some scattered light sprinkles right now. It's nothing heavy, but it is keeping the atmosphere much cooler. This is going to change throughout the day. Now, guys, up in Vermont, you've caught hail for the last several days. Rain, flood, many have lost your homes, businesses. A couple people lost their lives there. One lady lost her life trying to save her dog. But it's been bad, and this is today. It says approximate thunderstorm timing today. This is coming out of Burlington, Vermont. You can see from 2 to 4 p.m., it's not that heavy. Then it starts piling up this afternoon from 3 to 5 p.m. Then 4 to 6 p.m. You're still getting the heavier parts. And this is from 4 to 6 to 6 to 8 in this bottom two sections. This looks like where you can have damaging winds, large hail, isolated tornadoes possible, localized flash flooding, cloud to ground lightning. Note, saturated soils make trees more susceptible to being uprooted and will be a primary concern with today's storms. Guys, even here yesterday we had a tree go down. It really wasn't in high wind. The ground was just saturated, and we've got some other limbs down from the storms from last week, and I'll be getting that up in here in a week or two. But the scattered to numerous showers and thunderstorms are expected this afternoon and evening. Some thunderstorms will be severe, again with the damaging winds, hail, isolated tornadoes. So guys, don't let your guard down yet up in Vermont. This goes all the way up into Canada, as you can see. Now the hidden blessing is breaking this heat, because the floods are bad, they're dangerous, and they're devastating. But the number one killer as far as weather-related events is heat. So you keep that in mind. Of course, a tornado comes through a town, small area, but overall the heat is the main concern. I know very well, because in my 20s working on a big job, I had a heat stroke, and I dehydrated, and you never get over it, guys. You get better then, but after that, when you start to warm up and get a little too hot, the headaches set in, nausea sets in, you can't eat, you have to get back on some kind of liquids and get your moisture built back up in your body. So it is a blessing with this rain in many places, but you guys don't need this, especially with the damaging winds, possible tornadoes, hail, flash flooding, and lightning. But it's coming, so you got to be prepared for it. Now, looking at national satellite images this morning, Vermont, you can see that you've just had a storm, or you are about to get a storm. You're starting to get into the rain now, but there's a second one right there. So you may get this earlier and through the day, and then later tonight have a second round. So that's going to increase your flood chances. Here in Arkansas, you can see the storms that are building up on you guys there and coming in out of Oklahoma. This is going to push down into Mississippi and give us that. We're already getting rain here, and it's picking up now on the roof. I can hear it. So this is what we're dealing with in the south. You guys in Vermont area through the northeast, watch this. If you look very closely, you can see this wildfire smoke building back up in the Great Lakes area and moving down through the central U.S. right there. Guys, we're watching this. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe. I've got a couple of updates coming up today. One will be on the Russia-Ukraine situation. Things are changing there. It's a heads up, guys. Be safe.